Hello and welcome to Priority Literacy Targeted Offer for Derby. In this presentation, we're going to talk around what the targeted offer is, how you can get involved, what to expect, and also some communication links where you can follow up any queries you have with the team at the end of the presentation. First of all, you may be wondering whether or not you are a targeted school, how you would know, and if you aren't a targeted school but would like to be, what you can do. So I'm going to hand over to Tammy, who's going to talk around the targeted school offer and labelling.
So what happened was that the priority area board invited, the DfE constructed a board and invited a number of colleagues from across Derby. There was local authority representation from the primary strategy group and the secondary strategy group, alongside a number of multi-academy trusts. Working in collaboration with those partners, the DfE pulled together a 3-year sort of picture, a trends of data for schools across Derby. Obviously, they were looking at validated external data alongside other local intelligence and things like Ofsted reports. And from that, a group of schools was identified as those that we felt would benefit the most from the targeted support. But we also appreciate that schools may also say, look, from our own current data, our own trajectory, we feel that we would really benefited from that targeted offer, because we know there are some schools who are on that targeted offer list that we work with them directly. Actually, the factors within their school have changed from that 3-year data picture trend, and it's no longer appropriate for them. So where we have capacity, where we have spaces available, we want to be able to work with targeted school, work with additional schools and bring them into that targeted list. So if you feel that you should be a targeted school based upon your data picture, based upon your school's needs, don't hesitate to get in touch with the team, and we can work with the DfE to see if we can allocate you one of those spaces that has opened up. Schools who are the targeted schools have received a personal email from Becky at the Priority Literacy team. So if you've not received a personalised email from Becky and from the Priority Literacy team inviting you to undertake the audit and to engage with a literacy specialist, this will mean that you're universal. You're a universal school. So if you do feel that you want to get in touch and explore that with a member of the team, don't hesitate to get in touch.
This is the overview of the targeted support offer for Derby. As you can see, we've got a range of programs here, from Key Stage 2 literacy to fluency to disciplinary literacy, alongside that bespoke support and pupil-focused activity. On the right-hand side of the screen, there is a QR code. So if you want to follow along with the presentation, please feel free to scan the QR code, and what you'll get is an interactive flyer where you can click the links and it brings up the following information and key dates. But what's really interesting is at the centre of this offer sits the audit. This Gateway self-audit will enable school leaders to really drill down into what the priorities for the school are, and therefore helping them to work with their bespoke literacy specialist on which programs to get involved in and which programs are going to drive fluency, reading, writing forward for them and their school. We're going to talk through the audit and what to expect. If you are a targeted school, you will have received an email from Priority Literacy explaining that you are a priority school and there is a Gateway audit for you to complete in order to have a literacy specialist assigned to you. Now, we've spoken around at the beginning a diagnostic framework to inform strategic next steps. This is where the audit has been created with significant players within the system who are literacy specialists all the way through from Key Stage 2 to Key Stage 4. This has produced the Gateway self-audit that we have at the very centre of this offer, which you can access by clicking here. On the Gateway self-audit, you will find a number of questions around key threads: leadership, teaching, intervention, academic transition, etc. We're suggesting that this audit is done as a team, so it's not one person, but actually you might want to pull together your literacy, writing or reading lead with a member of SLT, and it may be that you want to involve other staff involved in initial reading and writing, such as TAs, your SENCO, etc. This analysis will take some time. It will take 3 to 4 hours of discussion. And on this audit, we're asking a question. So you can see on the left-hand side, we have an example around talk, and it says structured talk, dialogue and verbal reasoning is present in all lessons and is modelled and scaffolded. We're then asking leaders and teams to reflect on that and scale and put themselves on the scale of 1 to 5 of where they fit. 1, not evident. 5, absolutely embedded, impactful, really purposeful, and would probably want to showcase this with other schools within the network. Not only are we asking for a number on a scale of 1 to 5, we're also asking for a comment. That comment is incredibly important. That comment helps us to understand the mental models that are created within teams, what CPD is in place, what experience, what knowledge, and it also helps us to dig a little bit deeper and give us some more information on that initial audit. So we ask for this audit to be completed by the team and uploaded to our portal dashboard. All of the instructions on how to do that will come in your initial email when you are listed as a targeted school. Once that Gateway self-audit has been uploaded to the portal, the literacy specialists on our team will be assigned to your school and will have access to that audit to look at. Initially, both myself and Carl will be looking at those audits to really think about what are the key threads and themes that are coming up from your audit. Where do we feel at the moment, just from the information you've provided, where do we think those priorities lie? Once myself and Carl, depending on whoever has been assigned to your school, has gone through your initial Gateway audit, we will then create a document called an initial audit form. What this initial audit form does, it synthesizes all of the information from your Gateway audit into 3 sections. The initial audit will give a range of emerging priorities and recommendations that have been carried out by myself, Amy Ford, and by Carl Patterson, who are the team leaders for the Priority Literacy Project. What we will do when we receive your Gateway audit is that we will start synthesizing, really thinking about what are the key threads that we're seeing from the information that you've provided to us, and we will give our findings and priorities and questions under the key headings of the audit, such as leadership of reading, teaching of reading, academic transition, etc. What we then have on the right-hand side are our draft recommendations. Now, these are only draft recommendations because we are only going off that initial information from the Gateway audit. So as you can see in bold, we've highlighted a couple of programs that we feel would fit some of the threads that are coming up at the moment. However, they might change or might get reprioritized once we attend our initial visit. So the second section of the audit is asking for further information. So as you can see in the first part, we are just reflecting on the information that we've received under each of those headings and trying to draw out the key aspects that we feel might be pertinent for you as a school. The second section is asking for a little bit more information, and it might be that we ask for a school improvement plan, we may ask for your intervention overview, we may ask for your reading and writing policy. We also have a section that says other. This might be that you've created systems within school that we're really interested in finding out a little bit more about, and we might ask if you can send that over. This just helps us build a bigger picture of what's happening within your setting at the moment. And by asking those further questions, by asking about the detail that sits behind that ranking of 1 to 5, we're able to start to begin to establish the level of knowledge within the setting and capacity, and then start directing to programs as needed. The third section of your initial audit that you would receive is a breakdown of a timetable for the day. So we would like our literacy specialist to attend an initial visit and do a bit of a deep dive into your setting. So it might be that through the audit, we've had some key questions, we've asked for a little bit more information and extra documents, and then actually we'd like to see some things in practice. This is a framework where we've suggested we might want to meet the literacy and English lead alongside the team, learning walks, interventions, pupil voice, staff voice, etc. This is an overview of what it could look like, but when you receive your initial audit form, that will be more bespoke. And what you'll see are notes on the right-hand side which will be a suggestion of why we want to see this, where it has come from in terms of the audit or the further documents. And then we would ask you as a school to create a timetable for our literacy specialist, which suits you as a school and your school timings, but also enables the literacy specialist to see those key features that we're looking for a little bit more information on. You will receive an email once you've uploaded your initial gateway audit to the system. Your next contact with us at Priority Literacy will be another email, and attached to it will be that initial audit form, which is here. You will get a copy of our notes, and you'll also be introduced at that time to your literacy specialist and given their contact details. At which point your literacy specialist assigned to your school will contact you directly via email and arrange a date to come in to do an initial visit and follow up on that timetable. There'll be communication between yourself and the literacy specialist just to make sure that everything is covered and you feel that you've got those dates secured and all the information that is needed. We're then going to talk about the initial audit, the day. What does that look like? What can you expect once your literacy specialist turns up at your school to do that deep dive with you as a school leader? On arrival to your school, your literacy specialist will have a visit information gathering form. All this is at the top box we have completed before the visit. There'll just be a couple of questions that the literacy specialist will be wanting to follow up on based on your gateway audit, based on the initial findings form, and based on the extra resources that you've shared or any other questions. This will be shared with you in the morning. And again, the literacy specialist will talk through the key activities that you've designed together, what to expect in each of those sections. And this is an opportunity, particularly in that first 45 minutes, to ask any questions or delve a little bit deeper into your initial visit form that you had previously and ask any questions. As part of the day, there will be a lesson observation, and this is very much a supportive tool. We don't want this to be a done to, we want it to be a done with. Your literacy specialist will talk with you and your team in the morning about these forms and what they look like. They follow a challenge partners style where we're going to do a lesson observation with the school leader and the literacy specialist. Every single lesson, a mark will be put on the sliding scale of these key features from needs development to major strength. After the observation, the school leader and literacy specialist have an opportunity to discuss why they've put their cross on that sliding scale where they have and what the reasoning behind that is. And it's just an opportunity to open up further dialogue. It's not an opportunity to judge. It's an opportunity to share, again, experiences and also skills and maybe some suggestions. The Cornell notes is a way that we're taking information on that lesson observation form, and your literacy specialist will talk this through with you, that when we're making notes within the lesson, we have an area for notes, a section for any keywords or questions, and then a brief summary. If we were to summarize what we've seen, what would that look like in 2 to 3 sentences? And this is just a way of succinctly getting our information together and also offering an opportunity to write down our key questions that we really want to ask in the moment that we can't because we're observing, but we want to follow up on a little bit later. So again, this is an opportunity to observe, practice, and again, think about our rating for that, whether it's fluency or vocabulary, whether or not we're seeing the same things, and if our rating and commentary is still suitable or if a shift is needed. As part of the day, there will be a book look, but we'll be following the Alex Bedford book study, where we will ask pupils to come along with their books, and we will be asking them to share their thoughts, their experiences, their knowledge around what they've been learning. And again, that will be done with your school leader and literacy specialist together, because we feel that it makes it more of a live document that we're looking at, and we actually get to dig a little bit deeper and find out more information. So we will be following this book study. You can ask for some more information. You can ask for some of the questions that we're going to ask before the visit. This could also be spoken about in that first initial 45 minutes on the day. After the visit of the schedule that has been created by yourself and your literacy specialist, there is a meeting at the end of the day to pull together and think about what have we seen, reflect on those key priorities that have been suggested as draft recommendations and whether they're still pertinent or not. At this point in time, your literacy specialist will start to think about some key threads that we would like to pull over for an action plan. And all of this is going to be on your dashboard. And again, you'll have an email with a step-by-step walking you through how to do this on your dashboard. What you may see on your dashboard is your school. You will see the area that you're in, your phase, who your literacy and English lead is for your school, who your literacy specialist is from Priority Literacy that's assigned, and you'll also see the dates on the right-hand side. Initially, there'll only be visit 1 because that's the only date we've put in, but by the end of the visit, your literacy specialist will be planning in those other 3 dates with you before they leave and uploading it to the dashboard so you will know when to expect them again. On your dashboard, you will see that you've already completed the Gateway self-audit. You will also get at the end of your visit, your literacy specialist will update dates booked. That will then turn green. Your visit 1 will also be coloured in green, and the action plan will be created, started at the end of your initial visit, and there'll be communication between yourselves and the literacy specialist to confirm what that action plan looks like and re-baseline the audit where necessary. And then it'll be an opportunity for your literacy specialist to signpost your programs that will help and benefit you and those next steps. What you'll see on your dashboard is your Gateway self-audit, which is locked in. That will always stand there. There'll also be the baseline audit. Now, this is now going to be a re-baseline with your literacy specialist after having done pupil voice, after lesson observations, after more discussions and digging a little bit deeper. And you'll do that together. So you'll re-baseline your audit, move some of them around, maybe they move up, maybe move down. And then you're going to select some key threads from that audit to be part of your action plan. The way that will happen is within the session at the end of the visit, your literacy specialist will talk to you about some key threads. And as you can see on the screen, there's a little star here, and that would move it over into your action plan. So if we were really wanting to focus on, for example, effective record keeping of interventions, that would move into our action plan. We're only going to choose 5 threads to move over to that action plan to really do things well. So we're going to make sure we're not doing everything, because if you've got lots of priorities, you don't have any priorities at all. So we're really going to be judicious with moving over those key threads and limiting that to 5 for your school over the next 18-month period. You then have a tab for this action plan. So once we've moved over those key threads, what you'll see is that we can add an action to that. For example, we've got here attend fluency training. You can say who's going to do that, by when, and you can add notes to this, and you can also upload any evidence that you wish to the portal as well as you go along for those visits with your literacy specialist. When your literacy specialist comes back, which I'll go on to in a moment, at 6, 12 and 18-month points, they'll be going back over your literacy action plan to ask how you're getting on, and it's more of a critical friend of feedback and challenge around what's been working well, what do we need to do more of in that section. So hopefully by the end of your first visit, you will have initially started that action plan, and then in the next 2 weeks, via email and communication, you'll finalise what that action plan looks like between you. It's very much on yourselves as a school to work out what those action plan steps are. It will be guided by your literacy specialist, but you know your setting and your capacity better, so that will be down to you. Once we've got those actions, your literacy specialist is in a better position before the end of the visit to get you to sign up to some of the programmes that are going to be pertinent for you as a school. So as we can see, that audit right at the very centre drives the targeted offer and ensures that we're able to go on a programme that's going to support that action plan. We're now going to talk through each of these in turn to give you an overview of what those offers are and what to expect. Again, you have got the QR code and you can have a look a little bit more if you want to dive into that. The first one is going to be the Key Stage 2 literacy programme.
So colleagues, the Key Stage 2 literacy programme will be drawn directly from the audits. And the way that it will be targeting is working with follow-on support for those literacy leads, and then also some bespoke training for the literacy leads, teachers and TAs. So we've tried to make it a really accessible offer by chunking up the aspects. So if you're looking at the bottom left-hand corner there, first of all, the Literacy Leadership Network happens in February, April and July. These have been deliberately designed so that the February session follows on that first meeting with your literacy specialist, and we work collectively as a network for you to reflect on and move forward with your development areas. We'll be taking the audit feedback from all the literacy specialists and designing that session around the key areas of your personal development to take you forward. We then have a follow-up meeting in April, and then between April and July, so in June time, you'll have your next formal meeting directly with your literacy specialist to say how have things progressed since your first baseline meeting, and then we have a 4th of July session where we'll then do that action planning to get ahead for the next year. So these network meetings are for you to collaborate with other colleagues, because we appreciate that one-to-one work with your literacy specialist will be bespoke and targeted for you, but being able to work with other specialists and with other literacy leads across the schools, across our area, will be really, really important for you. And also we're going to be pulling out strands and doing that targeted bespoke training for all of the schools involved. So that's your leadership layer that's been supported there. What we then have is 5 training sessions that are accessible to everyone. This is for you as a literacy lead, for teachers in your school, and also for any teaching assistants if you feel that that particular content will be most appropriate for them. So you can see starting on the 24th of January, we'll be delving into Talk for Learning and specifically the power of oracy, and we'll start to kind of look at some threads around vocabulary, specific vocabulary instruction, linking to that developing oracy along with developing types of talk, because we know that's the bedrock of being able to read, is having those really strong models for articulation, strong models for oracy that give us some really secure grounding. By the 21st of February, we move into the Learn to Read, where we're going to really delve into the domains and practical tools around fluency. This will mean then we'll delve into the reading skills, those foundational aspects that pupils need to help them to become fluent, delve into a phonics approach in Key Stage 2, and look at a range of whole class strategies as well to boost reading fluency. So we're looking at what does this look like as a whole school offer, as a whole class offer, and what does this look like for targeted support. By March, we'll be looking at the developing vocabulary and the writing challenge. So we pull on that vocabulary strand again, but we delve into writing and the domains of writing. And like with the fluency strands, we're going to look at what are the composite parts that a writer needs to be proficient in, and look at the aspects around what does that look like at whole class and intervention. Things like they need to have really secure transcription skills. So what is there out there that can help us develop transcription, for example, which is often a huge barrier for stamina for writing. By the time we come into March, we'll have a reading for pleasure session around that culture for reading and that wider aspect around encouraging reading. So we're not learning to read, we're reading to learn, and that's that thread coming through there. And then finally, by the 4th of June, we come into writing composition. Where again, we're going to look at that simple view of writing and build up how do we build to text level. So hopefully you can see a real clear progression through the 5 sessions, and maybe mentally you're thinking already which teachers might really benefit from coming to those sessions, which TAs might really enjoy being part of that learning journey. So hopefully the balance between very structured support for you with a literacy lead and that wider training for your school can allow you to think about, right, who are my change champions, who are my wider team that can help me drive forward change and support my staff. And if you are looking to engage with that, the booking link is on the original slide.
The next offer we have is around fluency. We have this at Key Stage 2, Key Stage 3 and 4. We have had a launch already around the Key Stage 2 fluency, but again, that is starting in January, and some further dates will be coming out for that shortly. If we're thinking about what is the Reading Fluency project, you can have a look on the flyer. What you have on the right hand side is an opportunity to watch some more videos to find out exactly what the Fluency project is, how it's delivered, and whether or not you feel that that's something you've got in place or whether it's something you want to do a little bit more. You can see we've got the key project dates around when the project is now going to launch. We've had an initial day with school leaders to give an overview, but that does not mean that you still aren't able to join that, and make sure that that's in place for your school from January onwards. So the other programme we have is around secondary disciplinary literacy. Now, this is going to be run by the National Literacy Trust, and when you click onto this as part of the flyer, you'll see that there's a description around the National Literacy Trust Secondary School Improvement Programme, what that looks like, what the aims and the outcomes of that are going to be. You can also see that there are dates for Year 1, and in a second I'll show you the dates for Year 2. You can also see in that very first initial meeting, you've got a Literacy Leadership Network meeting. This is important that the leader of the school goes along to this initially, because this will talk through the programme as a whole, what content's going to be covered, and who the right staff are to attend the programme. So this is key in the setup of the programme, that we really think about who's attending, what's going to be the biggest lever of change for us in secondary around this disciplinary literacy. After that initial literacy network, it's then going to be down to the course content, where we're going to focus on disciplinary literacy. What is it? Moving into aspects of vocabulary, talk, reading for learning, reading for pleasure. We then start looking at writing at the same time, and this is brought in when we're focusing on key subjects. So in Year 2, we've had the overview of Year 1 about what disciplinary literacy is, how do we embed that level of understanding, and then we start getting into the practicalities of what does this look like, which is again subject specific. This will be decided in your initial leadership meeting of who's the right person to attend these programs to get the best out of them. So we have science, geography, history, English, PE and math. We also have another offer that isn't on the flyer currently, but will be updated to include this, where we've got a bespoke TA targeted offer.
So in the first instance, we're launching now with our targeted offer support for TAs for secondary. This is in partnership with the National Literacy Trust. This is to make sure that the training that's being offered to TAs really aligns with that disciplinary literacy offer that's available to all the secondaries. So then you're having that kind of really strategic filtering down. In the pipeline, there is a primary offer that will be coming online in spring 2 as we look forward. We're just rolling out these communications as we go through. So let's focus on the secondary literacy offer for TAs. We are offering 2 separate dates, because we can really appreciate that releasing staff and releasing colleagues into this it might be a challenge. So we're offering 2 specific dates for both offers. So on the left-hand side there, you can see that it's all about supporting disciplinary reading in the secondary curriculum. The focus of this is to ensure that our HLTAs and teaching assistants who are working with specific children feel comfortable in supporting those reading skills in all subject areas. And it will be practical strategies to support that reading fluency and the reading comprehension, with really specific techniques for them to take on board and change their practice. So you can look to hook in some colleagues onto the 16th of January session and the other on the 25th of January. You can see that we've done them from 9:30 to 11, so really short, very strategically focused session, but again, not being a conflict for any timetables we might have for our TAs, in terms of some colleagues finish at 3, some finish later, some finish earlier. So we hope that that 9:30 to 11 slot will be the maximum sort of impact time where you're likely to have most of your colleagues in school. Then in terms of disciplinary literacy in Key Stage 3 maths, That's on the right hand side of your screen. That one again is saying, right, you may be a TA really focusing with a learner with SEND or supporting in a classroom in the maths lesson. How do you ensure you hit those disciplinary literacy markers? And again, the NLT goes through those practical strategies for improving comprehension of multi-stage word problems, for example, identifying using command words in maths, and really focusing in on those specific skills. And again, there's a part 1 and a part 2, each of them are 1 hour each, and then you can hook into either of those dates that are available there. So again, hopefully it offers flexibility for this online program for TAs to really hit that disciplinary literacy with supporting reading and particularly supporting effective literacy in maths.
Finally, we have that 6, 12 and 18-month review points now with your literacy specialist. So you can see on the timeline that we started with the Gateway Self Audit. You then received communication from Priority Literacy with your initial findings, with a suggestion of a timetable and further documents. You will have then had communication with your literacy specialist, had that initial visit with a bit of a deep dive. At the end of that initial visit, an action plan had been co-constructed through communication over the next 2 weeks and finalised. Then we've got programmes that have been signposted, and hopefully at this point in time, you've allocated staff to those programmes, and that's an ongoing process. We've then got the data checkpoints and support monitoring, which is very much around your literacy specialist attending those 3 dates that you agreed previously to look over the action plan specifically. And it might be that on a certain part of the action plan, you would like your literacy specialist to look at that only or offer support, and that's flexible. So the next 3 months, 3 review points is very much bespoke to you and your school. So as you can see, you have an overview of the targeted support offer. Just a final summary is that as a targeted school, you should have received an initial email stating that you are a targeted school with a link to doing the Gateway Self Audit. If you've completed the Gateway Self Audit and uploaded that, you should by now have received an email which will give you your initial findings document with further questions and prompts. It will also have given you an introduction to your literacy specialist. If you're still waiting to be assigned a literacy specialist, you will have my name, Amy Ford, or you'll have Carl Patterson, my colleague's name, attached to that as team leaders, who you can get in touch with in the meantime to ensure that you're not missing out on the sign up of start of new programs. Once you've had your initial email with your visit information, your literacy specialist introduction, you will then communicate directly with your literacy specialist to plan that initial visit. Your literacy specialist will attend, do a deep dive, you'll re-baseline your audit, create an action plan, sign up to the program, and then plan in your following 3 dates over the 18-month period. This is where we're at currently. If you have any questions or any of those things haven't happened for you yet, please do get in touch with us at hello@priorityliteracy.org.uk, and do follow us on Twitter, and also check the website where we'll be adding further information.